Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our council meeting today. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And I apologize for the 2 or 3 minutes that everybody sat in silence, but we call the meeting for 3 o'clock, and that's normally when we start. So our phone is a couple minutes slow. So like I said, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask if there's any pecuniary interests, and if so, declare them now. Hearing none, we'll move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. The minutes of the Town of Minto, January 23rd, 2024, regular council meeting be approved. All in favor of the motion? Before we get too far, I'd like to ask anybody that's speaking today, speak into the mic. And also, when you go to the podium, state your name and talk into the mic as well, if you don't mind. Thank you. So, resolution moved by Councillor Potnitz, seconded by Councillor Zimmerman, that the Town of Minto Council convene into committee of the whole. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Today we have a public meeting. It's to do with ZBA 2023-09. It's the Thiessen property, 24 Minto Street North. And I'm going to act as the chair of this public meeting. And I ask anybody that's here that's going to speak to the public meeting, please sign in if you haven't already. And if a person or public body does not make an oral submission at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Town of Minto to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. I'll ask Clerk McRobb to state the municipal address and the legal description of this property. Thank you, Chair Turton.
The property subject to the proposed amendment is located at Concession D, Part Park Lot 2, RP61R7235, Part 1, and municipally known as 24 Minto Street North in the former village of Clifford, Town of Minto. The subject property is approximately 0.4 hectare or 0.98 acres in size. The purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment will be to rezone the lands from residential R1B zone to site-specific holding residential R2-XXH. The amendment is required in order to facilitate the construction of four-unit street townhomes with a reduced lot area of 240 meters square per dwelling unit and an increased lot coverage of 55%. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. Notices were mailed to the property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies, and posted on the subject property on January 9th, 2024. Reports and comments have been received from Wellington County, Town of Minto, SVCA, Upper Grand District School Board, Jim Hill, Clifford resident, as well as Triton Engineering with their planning justification. And that's back to you, Chair Turton.
Thank you, Annaline. So we're going to start off by asking our county planner, Curtis Marshall, to provide some comments regarding the proposed amendment to the comprehensive zoning bylaw number 01-86. Curtis, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor Turton and members of council. Pleased to be here for today's public meeting. As stated, the purpose of this application is to rezone the property to permit 16 townhouse units on this property. Relief is also being requested to permit a reduced lot area and increased lot coverage for the townhouse units. The subject property is currently designated as residential in the official plan. I wish to bring your attention to section 8.3.5 of the official plan, which establishes criteria that should be considered for new medium density residential development. A review of these criteria has been provided in our report, and the criteria address density, design and compatibility, infrastructure and servicing, and zoning. Subject property is currently zoned low density residential, R1B, which permits single detached dwellings only. I know planning staff's report provides a summary of the applicable provincial and official plan policies that relate to this application. Now, in summary, the purpose of today's public meeting is to present the application to the community and allow area residents to ask questions and seek more information from the applicant. I know following the public meeting, planning staff will prepare a final recommendation report and bylaw for council's consideration at a later council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Curtis. What we'll do is we'll leave questions till the end here. So I'm going to ask our CBO, Terry Kuipers, to provide his comments.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. Just a couple of things to add in addition to Curtis's comments. In order for this development to occur, there is going to be additional planning applications that will come forward at some time in the future. The R2 zone only permits one 4-unit street townhouse, so in order to facilitate the 4 that's being proposed, prior to the issuance of more than one building permit, they'd have to sever the property into the 4 blocks as proposed in the report. The other thing to note is that there is no municipal water, sanitary, or storm within Queen Street. So in order for this development to proceed, those would have to be installed/constructed. And that's the rationale for the hold on it. So basically, what's up for consideration is that whether or not we're satisfied that an R2 zone is okay, but the hold is put on it to prevent any development whatsoever on the property. So not even a single family could go ahead until the hold is lifted, which means the servicing would have to be provided. I believe that is all I wanted to add.
Thank you, Terry. I'm going to call on the owner applicant to provide comments. That's Josh Thiessen. And unless Mr. Bill White is with us. Okay.
Mayor Turton, I believe I was going to speak for Josh. He should be in the meeting first, and then he'll fill in whatever I neglect to say.
Perfect,
I appreciate the chance to speak to you all on this. Reviewed the county and staff comments and those that have come in from the agency and the public, and I believe Mr. Thiessen and his family are also aware of those comments. I won't go through any of the background because I think that's been very ably covered by others. I will say that in terms of the density of the development, the medium, what we've called medium density, it is a little bit higher than the general policy requirement in the county official plan, but it's much closer to medium density than high density in terms of the number of units per hectare. As council is well aware of, the provincial planning policy certainly is encouraging intensification, reuse or redevelopment of lands for more than one unit. So the single family dwelling zoning that's on there now is dated and really not applicable, because where there's municipal services, you're certainly allowed to have upwards of 3 units subject to certain criteria. So we certainly believe that the proposal is compliant with provincial policy as well as the county official plan policies, which encourage the use of higher densities in certain areas where it's appropriate. And we believe this is an appropriate area. I should note it is on the edge of the North Clifford secondary plan area, which was done a few years back to establish development framework for that part of Clifford. This would certainly not impact that. In fact, it would enhance the ability of the North Clifford planning area to be developed. The director of planning is correct in saying that there is no water and sewer on this available to this property at this time. We also know that there's no sidewalks. The road is in poor condition. It's been in need of replacement or upgrade for some time. And the developers are willing to participate in that, either through some kind of front-ending agreement to be negotiated with the town, or trying to find partners and adjacent owners who may choose to develop at the same time. But we certainly support the holding provision that's been recommended. It's important for our clients to have the underlying zoning in place so that they know how to plan for this financially. I think there was an estimate in one of the reports that showed over $650,000 to do that roadway. And so that's a big investment. And there needs to be, if you're going to have these units in an affordable range, they need to be at a higher density, we believe. One interesting point about Clifford, when the county was doing its comprehensive review, it was the only local settlement area with water and sewer that did not have major capacity issues based on the analysis that the county had done back then. So Clifford is the most capable of all settlement areas to accept development. We believe it's also compatible with existing development in the area, especially since most of it is vacant right now, and this will kind of set the tone with what the neighborhood might look like. There's issues mentioned in some of the letters about trees being lost. The applicant took that seriously and had previously already had an assessment of the trees on the property, and he can talk to that later. But what would have to come down for development, whether it's semi-detached or townhomes, he's intending to replace or replant wherever possible. There's no question there's need for housing. Council is aware of what the province has attempted to do, and even the federal government now, to encourage housing being developed. These units would be very important and would tend to hit what people call the missing middle, hopefully in the more attainable, affordable range. So we believe the proposed rezoning is compatible with provincial planning policy, the official plan, and will make efficient use of future water, sewer, and road infrastructure. And it's represents good planning and will supply much needed housing to the community.
Thank you, Mr. White. Mr. Thiessen, is there anything you want to add at this time? Sure, go ahead.
Sorry, it's not on.
That's better. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair and Council. So my father's owned this land for 30 years with Dirk Krob previously. So when he bought this land 30 years ago, the idea was for development at some point. And it seems like now is a good time to develop. My brother and my dad and me, we bought in about 8 years ago and decided that we wanted to develop this land. We've been looking at it for quite some time. Over the past couple of years, we've been doing a variety of studies. We've been reviewing it, looking at plans and what would make sense. We've done a bunch of tours throughout Minto, into Palmerston, up into Mount Forest, down through the Lower Fergus area, seeing kind of what product type looks good, feels good, is selling, and kind of meets that, as Bill said, the missing middle. We have family that lives in Minto Township, for an example. 2 cousins live here. We had an uncle live here in Minto. We're from Mapleton. And the 2 cousins can't buy houses. So essentially they're living with their dad and their mom at this point. They're adults, and the liberty and freedom that they can't have because they can't afford a home is an issue for them. They have children, and anything kind of over 500 grand now, any housing now is impossible for kind of people on 25 bucks an hour, dual income to afford it these days, right? Unless they'd have to live with their parents. So the idea for us was, let's put in something nice, townhouse or a nice starter and or retirement home for folks. Put it in around the $500,000 range. I know Harrison right now selling at the Trestle Bridge is selling around 625, 600, somewhere in there. So kind of get in below that mark and provide these units in similar feel, but it's a little bit more space because you're on the roadway. So there's a bit more space than Trestle would have, Trestle Bridge. We've looked at a bunch of designs and are comfortable with what we have, that we think the market will accept it as a developer, number one. And number two, we think it would fit in with the community. So it's kind of all I can say for right now. And if there, as far as the tree study goes that Bill mentioned, there's, I believe, 8 trees there. There's a lot of ash trees. So we had a third-party tree specialist go in. I take trees seriously. My property where I'm at is kind of a farm property, and we've I love trees. We got tons of trees there, and we have a kind of managed forest plan on my property, for instance. This particular parcel it's been within the city limits for a long time, undeveloped. It used to be there used to be a bit of an orchard there. It's been kind of pasture lands in the past, and really these trees that have grown up have really grown up in the last like 40 years because there's been no one upkeeping the property, frankly. And along the roadway is pretty difficult along that roadway too, if you take a look at the property itself. He went through there, and there's about I believe it was 8 trees, 6 or 8 trees, I forget exactly right now, apologies, that were native and larger than like that size there, that were an ash tree. So like at chest height, he would do his test. It was bigger than that, and it was a tree that he would put in his study. So there were 6 or 8 of them, I forget exactly which. 2 of them were willows, and there's a couple other, but no species that were like endangered species and or significant for wildlife habitation. So they're kind of scraggly trees that have grown up in the interim, in betwixt the last time the land was actually used for any real purpose. And the rest were ash, and the recommendation was for those to come down. So based on regardless if we put in even tightly spaced singles, even if we put in singles, semis, or whatever we put in, the trees would have to go regardless. The idea is if we need to plant some extra trees between lanes, I have no issue doing that. By putting this density, hopefully we're saving other lands within the county for environmental purposes, right? So I think that's kind of covers for today. From our experience, I've done a variety of projects with HIP developments out of Kitchener-Waterloo, so in a variety of joint ventures, a lot of houses put up, in a joint venture arrangement, me personally. My dad has been throughout Fergus, Lower, and Guelph area, has been a concrete provider as well as a custom home builder for a variety of years. So certainly as far as the experience in Terran goes, we'll put up good product. It's going to be good. So.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll move right along here to any persons wishing to speak to the application to come forward. And we have Mark Johnson registered. So Mark, would you go ahead, please? Nope.
There we go. As stated, my name is Mark Johnson. I live at the very corner of Queen and Ann Street. So my backyard backs onto the property that we're discussing. I had 3 other neighbors that were going to try and come down today, but I guess they weren't able to come down. We all had the same concerns, is that I'm not naive. I do realize that at one time or another that there would be something built on that property. My home was built 6 years ago this spring, and we moved up here. We enjoy I was raised in Rockwood, and my wife was raised in Acton. We like this small community. We love that. So traveling up here quite a few times in our lifetime, that's what we chose, and she's got family over in Howick. Anyways, that's my background sort of thing. I'm not naive to think that we do need to help younger folks be able to afford housing. Our concern was that it's going to be very crowded. It was even stated in this paperwork that we received in the mail that it's closer to it's going to be higher than medium, is what the gentleman on the screen was saying. It's going to be like on the very high end of medium. That's what we're worried about. You're going to, if you look at all around Clifford, the average street has 5 to 6 homes built on it. And I'm quite worried that if you're going to try and jam four plexes into that one small area, that it's going to be too much, and I think it's going to affect values of the property, and I just think there's going to be as many downfalls as there are up to this, and I just wanted to state that I think that it's going to be too much for that spot. We're worried about the congestion. We're worried about the height, because we don't know. I haven't, other than this piece of paperwork, I don't know what the what the buildings are going to look like. And there's nothing else like this in Clifford. So I really think that that's my concern, my neighbor's concerns. Height-wise, we enjoy all of us enjoy the sunsets from that side, and that's, so I don't know. It all seems like small things that we're concerned about, but in the long run, I think it's the congestion and the size that you're trying to jam into that one small spot. And I think that's all I wanted to state.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, that's what this meeting's for, is for communities, community members, bring their issues forward, so.
I do see that, something could be built there.
Yep.
We were thinking more along the lines of what the rest of the town is, 5 or 6 properties in there. I think that was everything, and I appreciate you listening.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'm going to open it up, council members, or any other questions that need to be asked. Who wants to begin? Go ahead, Councillor Potnovitz.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. Based on Mr. Thiesen's comment, he mentioned the price of around $500,000, so I'm assuming that they're going to be split or lift part law control after the forest evidences are done here. So I guess we just have to consider the servicing that you're going to put in there. You'd have to put in 4 services for each unit, I guess, if you're going to split them into 4, like freehold units. And the other thing we should keep in mind is to put an easement across the back so the center units can access their backyards.
Councillor Potnovitz, you're suggesting, merely suggesting?
Yes.
Any response to that suggestion? Go ahead.
Can speak from a staff's perspective. Normally at the either severance stage or the part lot control stage for multi-res, we do require easements for exactly what Councillor Podnewit said, so that people have legal access to their backyards. If they want to put in pools, build decks, whatever, they can physically access it. Our standard servicing protocol would be, regardless of whether it's left as 4 blocks or if it's split into 4 blocks with 4 units on each, we would still require them to do services for the individual units, just for the fact that 2 years down the road, you sell a block and I don't want to be in the rental business, so then I split it at that point. So we're going to take care of that right up front.
Other questions? Mr. Thiessen, is that, would you want to just stay around the podium if you don't mind?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm in total agreement with what Taylor just said, and that's our plan, for sure, so. And the request as the easement along the back, agreed, that during the planning process here, when we go for, that has to be dealt with, and I agree with Taylor in that one as well. Yeah.
Other questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Just a note of clarification for me, and maybe it was in the report and I've missed it. The piece of land that's behind that, who owns that? Because it's going to be pretty well locked in there, right? That house on one side, like the other strip that has a house and some hay or something on it?
So that house is owned by the individual who submitted the written concerns. So
Okay.
Jim Hill, he owns the long parcel right adjacent to this one.
Okay.
So Terry, is he right from Minto to Ann? Does he own that whole strip?
No,
No?
he owns an equal parcel
Okay.
as this one. In behind the houses along Ann Street, we did retain ownership of that trail system.
Yeah. Okay.
So Jim's property is,
Yes.
basically exactly the same size as this one.
Gotcha, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
Probably it's for you, Terry. I know they're going to be responsible for putting services along the road. And there's concerns about the road wasn't in very good shape. Putting services in would mean that they would have to put a bit of a road in after even up building their house.
So at the end of the day, we still need to sit down and negotiate what type of road would go back in. Previously, it was a asphalt road with roadside ditches. Our policy is to fully urbanize any new roads that we reconstruct, so that would mean adding a storm sewer as well. So that is definitely something that we would be looking at and the parameters around it at the site servicing stage. So a site servicing agreement that will come back to council would stipulate, it would show you both the design as well as your parameters agreements. As Bill mentioned, any upfronting agreements, any of that stuff would be addressed at that stage.
So there may be some shared costs, is that?
That is to be determined at this point.
Deputy Mayor Rangers.
So just to be clear, that piece of property then that fronts onto Minto Street, that becomes virtually a single lot then, because that's the only access to it.
That would be absolutely correct. Yeah, it's going to be a long parcel. I'm not saying that there couldn't be any sort of development occur in addition to a single family dwelling there. It could be, instead of a street townhouse as proposed here, it could be a cluster townhouse. So you've got a single driveway going
Oh, and then
into
have the
multi-res.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just, if we're looking at building more housing, it seems a shame to tie up that piece of property where there's.
It's owned by two different individuals,
I
so
understand
that's
that,
what
but
makes
yeah.
it tricky, but there is development potential for that adjacent lot.
I just wasn't sure. I'm thinking, that'll be just landlocked and be somebody's really large lot.
Go ahead, Councillor Podnitz.
Yes, through you, Mayor Turton. There was a comment made about the height of the building. Could you maybe, if you have anything in mind, is it a 2-story or 3-story buildings?
So as we stand now, we have a bungalow is kind of the design that we're going with right now, similar to, I don't know if you guys have seen Jack's Way there in Mount Forest. So similar style to that, the row towns there that were just put in. It's almost identical, very similar product to that. So nice fronts, bungalow style. Now, if we were to go to, through this process, through the planning process, if we were to go to 2-story product, which would be, we came in here to get the approval for this because that's what we want is the bungalow. If we went to 2-story, then we'd shorten up the back end of it and give more backyard because we have more height on the top. It's most like if we went to 2-story, we'd shorten it up a little bit and we wouldn't have the 55% usage. But as we're going for bungalow and we want to make sure that we get it through today. So it's a 1-story. But having said that, as we go through this process, if we were to go to 2-story and we thought that would be better for the market or saleable, then we'd shorten up those foundations. We'd have a bigger backyard because our square footage is over 2 then. But certainly not 3. So standard kind of 1 or 2-story product.
Wasn't that mentioned in here that people have the option to go to a 2-story versus or to do a bungalow sort of style? I think I read that somewhere here. It was a lot of reading, but.
In the planning justification study, it indicated just a bungalow. The current zoning, as well as the R2 zone, would permit a 2 up to a 3-story building. So the height is not going to change, or the maximum height, sorry, is not going to change, whether it's R1B or R2. But if it's approved as proposed, it's not limiting the height that the development can occur. It's there's no relief being sought for any sort of height addition or limitation.
Just a question on the density. And I've heard it said today 2 or 3 times on it's possibly medium, it's possibly a little above medium. Can you just clarify exactly what that kind of means, please?
Maybe I could, if I may. Mayor Turton, I believe the density of this project comes out to about 41, just over 40 units per hectare. Medium density in the county official plan is at 40. And so it's very close to the 40 units per hectare medium density criteria or policy in the county official plan. For comparison, high density is 75 units per hectare. So that's why the argument in the planning justification report that it's just over the medium density, very close to it at 41 units per hectare.
You want to add a
Sure.
little to that?
Yes, yeah, thanks,
Curtis?
Mayor Turton.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, so the county plan sets 35 units per hectare as a measurement for townhouses. That's considered medium density. And then 75 units per hectare is allowed for apartments. Now, we are reviewing the official plan, as council would be aware, and as part of this, we'll also be looking at densities. So we haven't begun that process, but it's something we'll be looking at, and certainly we're seeing a push for increased densities, while also those still maintaining that they're compatible for our community. So that'll be something that we'll be looking forward as well going forward. So the densities could very well change down the road, but I just wanted to highlight that we are reviewing it, and that would be something that would be discussed with the local municipalities as well as part of the process and their comments on the official plan.
So in reference, these will be 4 individual buildings. And I've heard selling a house versus renting. At the end of the day, if we put up 4 buildings, are they, is it possible to split them part lot control and sell 16?
Yes, excuse me, yes, that's kind of the game plan at the end in the justification study, is to build them, and then whether it's part lot control or severance, but anyways, split them into individual ownership. So you're gonna, in one block, as shown in the report, it would have 4 individual owners within that.
Deputy Mayor Anderson, go ahead.
I'm gonna go way out there here. So we know that the province wants us to do these sorts of things. Clifford fortunately has room in its lagoon and its water. Is the province looking at putting forward, like I'm assuming your density plans are going to change. That's clearly where we have to go. It's clearly where they're encouraged. They're gonna give us some money to help with that for our water and sewer systems in order to sustain that sort of growth? Get your crystal ball out.
I don't know the answer
See
to
if you can
that.
get me an answer.
There are a couple of grant programs that have been recently released dealing with infrastructure. So the province does have some things coming down the pipe. Again, it's a grant program, so we'd have to qualify for it.
Right.
So they're starting to, open up.
Because I'm assuming, as I'm looking, before it was the farm buildings that were getting bigger and bigger, we changed our bylaws to accommodate that. I'm anticipating we're going to see bylaws coming down the pipe eventually, looking at smaller lots being, so that we don't have to do this every time there's a development, because it's clearly a trend that's happening.
And you're absolutely right. You probably recall over the last 2 years, we probably rezoned 3 or 4 different street townhouse properties because of density was one. A bunch of other times it has been including frontage reduction as well as setbacks,
Right.
which isn't the case here.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. Things are heading
be
in the
moving
denser
along.
direction.
Okay, thank you.
Treasurer Duff, have you got anything to add to the grant situation presently out there?
Certainly, Mayor Turton and Deputy Mayor Anderson. There is one, you've probably seen it out there, the announcements. It's the House Enabling Water Systems Fund, which we will be putting in an application, 100%. It's due in April. I think there's only about $200 million for the whole eligible class
Really?
here. So, the price of projects, and
Mhm.
Minto alone, we can think of like 3 projects
Sure.
without even trying,
Mm-hmm.
but we are going to prioritize and we will put it in. We're hearing big rumors there's going to be some more funding. We're in an area that we don't have an official target.
Right.
And so there
I
may be
understand.
some money left over from the section of municipalities that do have targets and aren't able to use it. But again, nothing official. And you're 100% right. If we're going to do all these houses, we need to service them.
Well,
And we
and-
need the money.
You think there might be a little more bang for our buck because our housing costs are half of what they are projected on the information that came with this compared to some of the, or in our building report. Maybe that's what I said. We're half of areas that are within an hour's drive, hour and a half's drive. But whether the government listens to that or not, or whether there's logical application of common sense to the spreading of the wealth, I don't know. It's just interesting to watch.
Other questions? Across the road, across Queen Street there, what's your thoughts on that piece of property? I mean, looking at it, it looks more like a gravel pit than anything, but what is the situation on that? Greg?
So I did speak to the owner of that parcel yesterday. His intent a few years ago was to construct one single family dwelling on that entire parcel. It's about a 4 or 5 acre parcel. He indicated that he's not intending on building for a few years. However, there is the potential to sell it to a developer to make a plan of subdivision there. So at this point, until a development proposal comes forward, it would just be crystal balling it as to how it's developed.
Okay, other questions? Okay, so you've had opportunity to ask questions. Now, Mr. Thiessen, Mr. White, anybody else anything else to say today? Yep, I'll entertain another question. Mark, please go over to the mic.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
So I'm understanding that these won't be rental units, correct? They'll be sold as homes?
Josh, maybe you can speak to what your intents are.
That's our intention is to sell them as homes, 100%.
Awesome, that's fine.
Okay. Any response? All right, say hearing none.
And Honorable Mayor, just like from the differential between the valuation on sold product versus rental product right now on this product type, so on the row towns, it doesn't make a lot of sense to hold them as rental, even from an economic point of view, because the difference between the value you can get on the sale versus, now apartment buildings are different because of height and density, but this product type for the cost to build, it doesn't make a lot of sense to hold it in today's economy as rental right now. So it'd be for sale product.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to state that if you wish to be notified of the decision of the council, the town of Minto, in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Hairston, NOG 1Z0, or by email to annaline@town.minto.on.ca. So if there's no further comments, I'm going to adjourn the public meeting. So thank you very much. And you folks, if you want to stay, that's fine. If you don't, all right. Well, thanks for coming. Okay, so we're moving on to delegations, and we have Tanya and Quinn here. We're going to talk about the mayor's golf tournament and the application intake being open. So go ahead, ladies.
Thank you. So through you, Mr. Mayor, plans are already underway for our 14th annual Mayor's Charity Golf Tournament. This year it will be held on Thursday, August 8th at the Pike Lake Golf and Country Club. Over the past 13 years, the Mayor's Charity Golf Tournament has raised over $140,000 and has assisted 46 local groups or organizations with their financial expenses or events held in our community. Last year, 4 organizations benefited from the proceeds, and previous funds have been used to beautify our downtowns, purchase new sports equipment, fundraise for many community reunions and events, and there have been many projects benefiting the youth in Minto.
We are now accepting applications to receive this year's tournament proceeds from nonprofit organizations that fit into one of the 3 following categories: community betterment, service clubs, or sports clubs. Applications will be accepted until Monday, March 11th, and are available electronically or can be picked up at the municipal office. Last year, we had a very full tournament, and we're hoping that this year's event will be another great success. We look forward to supporting and assisting our local groups again this year.
Questions? Hearing none. Or I should not assume that you 2 guys are finished. Should I?
We're done.
So thank you very much for that presentation. We're looking forward to the mayor's golf tournament again on August 8th. It's always an exciting time. We certainly have over the years. And when I talk about we, it's Janet, it's Quinn, it's Tanya, it's you guys that do all this work. And I just want to tell you again, we appreciate it, and we're looking forward to the next one. So get your entries in, and we'll have another successful mayor's tournament. So thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move to public question period. So we have a resolution moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Deputy Mayor Anderson. Council receives the correspondence as information. We have quite a number of items on correspondence today. Is there any that we want to talk about? Councillor Potnovitz, is there any, sorry, Councillor Gunson, you want to go ahead? You go ahead and do
Let me
yours
go first. Thank you, Mayor Turton. 8A, should maybe talk about that. Maybe something we should look into with the cost of replacing equipment. It's constantly increasing, so maybe Chief Harold might want to talk about that.
Thank you, Councillor Gunson. Yeah, I just think we should support this from Prince Edward County. Fire Underwriter Survey FUS has a document that outlines the age of equipment is 15 to 20 years for your frontline trucks. And a lot of us are pushing the trucks to 25 years and plus. And we don't get credit for them in the survey as part of that because of the rules that they have. So this is just asking that we try and extend the life of the trucks because trucks are getting to be increasingly expensive. It would be nice to let us give us the ability to extend the life of the trucks and still get credit for them.
So what we're asking here is exactly what you're saying. Instead of setting the depreciation at 20 years, move it to 25 and give us credit on that particular situation.
Correct. I believe we should support this resolution.
Okay, can we have are you moving that? Sorry.
Yes, I'll move that.
Annalee?
Did you want me to read?
Yes, please.
Sorry. I guess that Council of Town Minto receives correspondence from County of Prince Edward regarding expanding the lifespan of fire apparatus and supports the resolution.
Councillor Gunson's moving that. Can we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Zimmerman. A couple of long service firemen here. So we've got it. Okay, so is there others? We'll move to Councillor. We did have a seconder. Councillor Zimmerman?
Yeah, and it has been carried.
So can we lump them if there's another one to come, or do we do them
These are
individually?
individual motions.
Okay, perfect. All in favor of that motion? That's carried.
Sorry,
Thank you. Councillor Potnovitz.
Through you, Mayor Turton. I want to bring forward 8B, which is the Valley Conservation Report that's on the agenda for information. I sit on the board representing Minto, Mapleton, and Wallington North, and they have brought forward a draft work plan budget for council's review. They are asking us to kind of go through the report that they've submitted here, and if we have any comments or concerns on their budget or our work plans, we would like our comments back to them by March 20th, 2024. If you look at some of the highlights there's quite a bit of exciting work that they're actively working on right now, and some that is proposed for the future. Some of the comments that were made in the meeting when I was attending and talking about the budgeting process, there is going to be a deficit in their budget this year, and that's mainly because the ministries have frozen the user fees, so they can't increase some of the things they normally would increase a lot. So there is going to be a bit of a deficit there that they want to make us aware of. So I just want to bring that to your attention. If we do have any comments, we could submit them back to the meeting down. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? Councillor Dirks?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was wanting to pull item G, which is from, or regarding AMO's policy update, social and economic prosperity review. It's talking about the gap in infrastructure funding and some of the other things that we have to deal with here at the municipal level, and the lack of provincial funding to help us out with that. And maybe the treasurer wants to comment on that as well, but I was thinking we should maybe support this.
Treasurer Duff? Any comments?
Yes, certainly most councillors, you've probably seen this particular thing come through directly from AMO and others. And nothing too new, although I think what is new, and we're seeing it in a lot of our committees, and I'm sure correspondence from the public, is that municipalities are forced to deal more with homelessness, the drug crisis, and other social issues that we're really not designed for. And the property taxpayer doesn't have the resources to handle that too. So we're very familiar with all the infrastructure and the housing push, but now we've got all these other social ills, and you know, in the county of Wellington, it's more at the county level, but we are seeing it at our level too. Especially, I know just in the last few months, there seem to be a lot of things. So I think it's worthy of supporting our municipal organization to raise the profile on this issue.
Are you merely suggesting that we should support this, or it's already in motion?
No, to support it's entirely up to you, but if you'd like to.
I'll so move.
Okay. So can we have a second, please? Thank you. Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Could I just, the motion would then read that
Go ahead.
Council of the Town of Minto call on the provincial government to sit down with municipalities and work together on a joint review of municipal finance, including a detailed analysis of Ontario's infrastructure investment and service delivery needs. And then it would go into all the whereases that came out of their correspondence. I don't want to read them all because they are in front of you, and that would be the motion.
Okay. So what is it exactly we're going to do with this? Who are we going to send it to? Do you need direction on that?
As a part of that, it actually states at the very end, is further that a copy of this be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Minister of Finance, and AMO.
All right. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you.
Did we have a seconder for that?
We did.
Oh, we did. Okay, sorry.
Anything else? You got? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Anderson.
I just wanted to mention F, the Mapleton Senior Center for Excellence newsletter. As usual, they've done an excellent job of it, but of particular note in there is the article about hospice, Wellington, and their plans to, and it's yet again another service that meets the needs of our community members that can't be met anywhere else, but it's all going to be funded by charitable work, which is going to come out of our municipalities, our members, our constituents' pockets, because there's no funding officially to fund that. And I know it's sort of a controversial issue, but people who've chosen to go to a hospice center, MAID doesn't enter into it. That's been the thing that's been raised several times about this this project. But people are looking for a safe, comfortable place to end their life where their family can be involved and engaged in their care and they're not in the middle of a hospital. And it's important service for people as we deal with an ever-aging population. So she's done an excellent job like they always do, and it's heartening to me to see all of the activities they have listed for seniors. There's lots of opportunities for them to get out to engage with other people, lunches and meetings and things with information, and they just do a really good job down there, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. I fully agree. All in favor of the motion then to receive the rest of the correspondence? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, so we have some reports. Staff reports. First one being the ECDEV 2024 signage grant, P26, the Golden Tree Cannabis 214 Main Street West in Palmerston. Belinda is off at a conference, and Treasurer Duff, I believe, is going to bring greetings on this.
That's right. Thank you, Mayor Turton. Yes, so this is a very small signage grant. I think we're all familiar with the property way back, former Palmer Hotel. And things change rapidly. So even though the picture shows VIP cannabis, it's actually going to be Golden Tree cannabis. And they're going to be doing a backlit sign that we don't support, but we are going to support an aluminum panel sign, which will go kind of near the peak there. You can see at the lower right. And the amount of this grant is just $332.99. And all members of the Economic Development Committee voted by email and supported it.
Okay. Motion by Councillor Zimmerman, second by Councillor Dirksen. Council of the Town of Minto receives the report ECDF 2024-004, a signage grant, P26-Golden Tree Cannabis, 214 Main Street West, Palmerston, and approves the signage grant P26 for $332.99. Questions? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. The next item then, I'm going to pass the chair to Councillor Cunson.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. We have one report today, municipal drain maintenance assessments, and Mike McKay is going to present the report.
Thank you, Chair Gunson. Yeah, this is just a quick little report for us to be able to assess maintenance costs out to these 3 drains. Drain number 6 is the entire watershed for the 3 drains, and then 13 and 54 are sub watersheds that branch off of that. This maintenance work took place over, I believe it was 2 to 3 years, and we're just able to assess these costs out now.
Thank you, Mike. I'll read the recommendation, moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Ponwitz. Council of the Town of Minto received report PW 2024-003 regarding municipal drain maintenance assessments and considers passing the related assessment bylaw and open sessions. Any questions from Mike? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Thank you. I'm going to pass the chair back to the Mayor.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is a 2023 year in review. We always look forward to these. It's building 2024-001, and Dave and Wes are going to tag team on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a pleasure for us to be here today to present the 2023 building report for the town of Minto. 2023 was a down year compared to 2022, which was a record-setting year. So we kind of expected things to level off a little bit and let everybody catch their breath in the construction business. The main area that was in decline in 2023 from 2022 was in residential housing. We were down 71 residential permits in 2023 compared to 2022. In that, there were 13 less single-family dwellings and semi-detached. 18 multi-family permits were down, and ADUs took a drop of 12 compared to 2022. Total, there was in 2022 we had 101 dwelling units constructed in the town of Minto, and 2023 we're at 29. Saying that, we did see good activity in the commercial and institutional sectors. They were both up over 2022. And if you take out our large industrial project we had in the town of Minto in 2022, the industrial sector was pretty much the same. The agricultural end of things, we were maybe down a little bit in project value, but the number of permits were almost identical from year to year. And we're seeing a strong start to permit intake already this year. So we're expecting a little bit of a bounce back in 2024. And I'll turn the mic over to Wes, and he can take you through some of the major projects we saw last year.
Thanks, Steve. Good afternoon, everyone. So this first one is the Horton Brothers. It's an elevator they put up just outside of Palmerston. Comes with a new elevator, 6 new bins, underground receiving pit, as well as a generator and scale shack. Continuing with agriculture, we had Frank Bruce put up a 19,560 square foot farm shop / storage. It also came with 108 by 16 lean-to at the far end. Next, we had Lester Behringer. We did a minor variance for this one on the manure distance separation. It's on the 12th line, so this is the final product. 13,600 square foot hog finishing barn with a pit under barn, and I believe it's for about 800 feeder hogs. This is Harrison Agrimart. It's a 19,200 square foot fertilizer storage building with a 4,800 square foot heated equipment storage on the closest end there. As well, heading into the next one was a Pike Lake office addition. Just started at the end of 23. 65 by 30. It's going to have 7 offices, a new boardroom, and new entrance. And they demoed about 4,000 square feet, not 4,000, 400 square feet to put this up. It was an old portable there before. So just modernizing, making it nicer for employees. Next, we have an update on Moonfleet Poultry. So this is 150 by 100. It's a repair garage, wash bay, as well as office and meeting space for their ongoing operation. Next, we have, this is Well Initiative. They applied for a foundation permit last year. It's in the industrial park. This one's going to be an 18,300 square foot building. It'll have 2,800 square feet of office space, which will be the smallest portion of that you can see. It'll be all offices. They'll have their own 9,500 square foot warehouse / equipment storage, and then on the far end will be a 6,000 square foot industrial rental unit. The next one, this is our institutional. So we had a church for the Mennonites as well as 2 schoolhouses go up. It's on 7 Bridges Road schoolhouse, as well as the 14th line for Sunrise Echo. They're in a Mennonite schoolhouse, 2 rooms, and they're all identical. Not much difference in them. So those were a pretty easy one. Next, we have Maitland Meadows. There we are. So Maitland Meadows started out last year. They pulled 10 permits. 2 of them were 2 single families, as seen here, as well as 1 semi, and a 6-unit row townhouse. They're all nearing completion. I believe they all have their insulation inspections done, and some are even listed on Realtor. So that's kind of nice to see. And we'll open it up for any questions.
Thank you very much. Dave and Wes, questions? No questions? That just says that the report was excellent. I'm sure that we could call it a bit 2024, 23, 24 is a bit of a slowdown in home sales, cost of construction, inflation, interest rate, all that stuff. I'm thinking that you guys are out there talking with different building departments. I'm sure we're not unique.
No, there's a few areas still in Ontario that seem to grow faster than others, but for the most part, everybody had a slow year, it seems.
That's been a consistent message from all the CBOs that I've talked to in the province. Res is really slow, but a lot of institutional and commercial uses are seeming to keep things afloat. I just would like to mention that, and Dave kind of mentioned it at the beginning, that yes, it's a slow year compared to the last 2 years, but it's actually a normal year prior to that. So it's not like these guys are sitting there doing nothing. Or at least they fool me very well. But yeah, it's kind of getting back to letting us all catch our breath and get ready for when the interest rate drops and things pick right back up.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was even thinking about that, Terry. And I know that being out in the community, that's one of the things that we don't have to worry about is our building department. I hear so many good comments about the gentlemen that go out to do the inspections, and it's always positive. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. I know that we've lost our fourth musketeer, but we're looking at a new person to take up that seat in your office. So, again, thank you guys very much. I know you don't come out to council very often, once a year. Terry keeps you pretty close to your work, I guess.
They would really love to come to every council meeting. So I am more than happy on inviting them.
Well, thanks a lot for the report. We appreciate it. We do not have to, yes, we do. 1 second here. Recommendation moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. The Council of the Town of Minto receives report building 2024-001 regarding the 2023 year in review as information. Any other questions? All in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you very much. We're going to move into Plan 2024. It's the B.E. Grind Lumber Limited, 82 Elora Street South, and I'm going to ask our CBO, Mr. Kuipers, to take us through this.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Turton. So the subject property is located at 82 and 88 Elora Street North and is located right at the southerly urban boundary of Clifford, but again, it's still in the urban boundary. The subject property contains a single-family detached dwelling as well as an active sawmill. The property contains two different zones. The majority of the property is zoned M1, which is industrial, and then the back part excuse me, is zoned at NE-14. I had to look up what that 14 meant because I was curious, and it allows for logs and lumber storage within the natural environment zone. So that's just what it is. So the use of a single-family dwelling is considered a legal non-conforming use, as a single-family dwelling isn't a permitted use within the industrial zone. Normally, staff would be recommending at this severance stage to require the applicant to rezone the non-conforming part to kind of clean things up. However, when we were speaking with Curtis and Jessica, the thought was to leave it as a legal non-conforming use, just because of the incompatibility between a house and an active sawmill. So it doesn't say they have to knock it down, anything like that. They can live in it for ever. If they choose to, they can sell it. That's definitely not a problem. But eventually, if the house becomes knocked down or anything like that, they couldn't reestablish it after it's ceased to exist for 12 months. And then it would be reverted back to like an industrial type use. So more of a compatible use with the sawmill. The severed and retained lots contain connected driveways. But as you'll see in the report, they were not proposing an easement over either one. So there's not going to be a legal shared access across each individual parcels. So at some point, either property owner could disconnect that driveway or prevent, lumber trucks from driving through the residential lot. So that is pretty much the summary of it. So staff is recommending that council supports the consent application with the 4 conditions that are listed in the report.
Okay, so we have a motion, recommendation moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of Town of Minto recommends County of Wellington Land Division Committee approve consent application B107-23, which is B.E. Grind Lumber Yard for land legally described as CON DPT Lot 61 with a municipal address of 82 to 88 Elora Street in the town of Minto, and the following conditions be considered. And there's 4 of them. And let's, any questions for our CBO? Go ahead, Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. Just one question, Terry. It's hard to make out on here. Where's the septic system on that?
We did ask for the location of the septic system for the house property, and it's actually in that front lawn area. They were not able to identify where the septic for the sawmill is. So I don't know the answer to that one.
Other questions? Are they on town water?
They are not.
Okay.
They have a shared drilled well that's located to the front of the sawmill building.
Did you?
81's coming in.
Other questions? All right, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you very much. We'll move along to the Plan 2024-005, B11, 2023, and B11, B12, 23, 102, 11974, Canada Living Limited, 85 Elora Street North. And I'll ask Perry to tell us about this one.
Perfect, thank you. As mentioned, this property is located at 85 Elora Street North, which is in the urban boundary of Clifford. The property, you're probably more familiar with, it used to be the Van Isle Trailer Manufacturing Facility. So that is kind of how we go by it. The numbered company is a little bit more complicated for me. But subject property is about 15.33 acres in size in total. And they are proposing to sever off 2 commercial lots fronting on Elora Street North. The subject property is zoned C2, which is a highway commercial. It is at the rear is future development, and then there is a municipal drain along the side, which is zoned natural environment. The portion that has the future development zoning is designated in the official plan as residential. So what they're doing with these 2 applications is severing off the commercial aspect, leaving an access to the residential part in between the 2 lots for a future plan of subdivision back there. The 2 lots that they're severing off are approximately 1.9 acres in size, and the other is 0.94. Just to put it in perspective, what that actually means on the ground is the Hairston Tim Hortons is roughly the 1.4 acres in size. So that's kind of a comparable development there. And then the Circle K in Hairston is around the 1 acre. So that would be a comparable size for the second parcel. So staff met and discussed these applications and just wanted to note the following. Through the conditions that we're requesting of council, we are asking for the existing buildings to be demolished. So there's a couple of commercial/industrial buildings existing. The new property lines bisect those buildings, so you can't have a building over a couple of properties, so we're asking it to be knocked down. With the historical industrial use of the property, one thing we are also asking for is a record of site condition, just to determine any environmental impacts that may exist on the property. Other thing to note is that our normal frontage fee per meter for this development is different than others that we've dealt with. The reason is, as you'll recall, I guess I was going to say a couple of years ago, but it's more than that. We redid Elora Street in Clifford, and we installed water and sanitary, which was not there previously. So this property, without the sanitary being installed, wouldn't be able to be developed. So council did that to facilitate these sort of developments with basically upfronting the fee to do that. So the frontage fee that's being applied is, again, higher than our normal fee, but it's associated with the infrastructure that we put in for the benefit of these parcels. Other thing to note is that the subject property, or when we reconstructed Elora Street North in that part, we did install 1 sanitary lateral and 1 water lateral to the property. Being, again, lack of crystal ball, we couldn't determine exactly how it's being developed. Through site plan control, as well as the plan of subdivision, we've got control over where the service connections go. Public Works didn't want either developer of any of the 3 parcels at the end of the day to cut into our new Elora Street to install a sanitary. So we do have control over that. That's not one of the conditions that's in there, but I just wanted to mention that as we do have controls through other processes that developments of these lots will have to go through. Other thing to note, or two things to note, which is a little odd, but when the Van Isle house itself on West Heritage Street was severed off from this larger parcel, you'll recall that the owners had to enter into a site servicing agreement. The house on West Heritage Street is serviced through a water service from Elora Street through this parcel to the house. So we put in a condition there, which is covered in the service agreement that's registered on title, but just for clarity's sake, that the existing water service be maintained. We don't know exactly where it goes with respect to the existing building, so if it's damaged during the demolition of the building, we're going to be asking them to fix it. The only other thing to mention is the municipal drain, as I mentioned earlier, is zone natural environment. There is a certain setback from the natural environment zone, so that may impact the development of that commercial lot. Just could limit where they're putting the building if they don't opt to apply for zoning relief. So staff is recommending that council supports these two applications with the 13 conditions that are identified within the report.
Thanks, Terry. So the recommendation was moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Podnitz. The Council Town of Minto recommends the County of Wellington Land Division Committee approve consent application B1123, B11123, and B11223. 102-11974 Canada Limited for land legally described as Plan Clifford Park lots H, I, K, and L with the municipal address of 85 Elora Street North in the town of Minto, and the following conditions be considered, which are 13. And questions for our CBO. Go ahead, Councillor Podnitz.
Yes, sir, Mayor Turton. I just wondered, does the surveyor have a straight edge, or I just wondered why?
So the reason why that property line to the, I guess, kind of to the south of the entire parcel, it follows the natural environment boundary. That's why it's kind of goofy. The reason why the interior of that lot isn't exactly straight either is to facilitate that future residential development, to allow for the entrance to come in. So it just makes it more interesting for whoever develops the parcel.
I have the same question.
So this thing goes ahead. There'll be one entrance, or there'll likely be three entrances, one to each lot and one to the residential part of it.
That is yet to be determined. It's going to depend on a couple of things. Who develops first? If the residential subdivision gets developed first, we're going to own that road. Then depending on the uses of those two commercial lots, they could feed into that central one or discharge straight onto Elora Street. So that is to be determined.
Is that similar to the Tim Hortons in Palmerston, one entrance to Tim Hortons and the gas station?
So that's slightly different. This is that section of Elora Street is ours, right? Not, yes. So we have control over what happens there. In Palmerston, it was in the control of the roads department from the county. They didn't want the multiple entrances. This would be slightly, the looks of it would be the same from the highway, but we would own that road, whereas the Palmerston one, it's dealt with through easements.
Okay. Other questions? Then I'm going to call the question. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. There's one more.
Yes, this is the last one for
So
tonight.
it's Plan 2024-006, OPA 119 and OPA 120 status update. Go ahead, CBO Kuiper.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Turton. I'm not going to go through the background information that I have in my report because it's a little bit long-winded, but it's The situation's complicated, so I couldn't just spit it out in a couple of sentences. I kind of wanted to walk through all the different bill or OPAs. Council will recall, though, passing a resolution in November of last year requesting that the ministry leave in the lands that the province had added into the Clifford urban boundary. Excuse me. So council did pass that resolution and it was sent to the province. The province then decided to reverse all of the changes that they made, regardless of council's opinion, and approve all those official plans. So official plan or OPA 119 was approved based on how it was approved a long time ago by our council as well as county council. So then they decided we don't have enough work on our plate, so they released official plan 120 for consultation. So 119, as you'll see in the report, sets up the framework for the municipal comprehensive review process. 120 establishes how much additional land each municipality within the county is needing. So as you'll know, we are shy 18 hectares of residential land. So OPA 120 reestablishes that. So that is out for public consultation at the moment. And staff is recommending that we submit comments for that official plan amendment, both requesting the province return that land back into the urban boundary of Clifford. So again, kind of going back to what they had proposed originally, but also that this land be in addition to the 18 hectares that were deemed to need. My rationale for that request is they were going to approve the additional 5.54, I think it works out to be, in official plan 119. So they're going to approve that, and then boom, we'll open up 120, approve it with that 18 hectares that's identified. So essentially it's just requesting what staff believes their intent was previously. So what I'm looking for is another resolution from council requesting again the lands be added in addition to the 18 hectares.
Sounds simple. So I'm not sure, I was thinking to myself and talking here, Terry, I apologize. I have a question, but before I do that, the recommendation moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councilor Potnitz. Council Town Minto receives part report plan 2024-006 regarding official plan amendments 119 and 120, status updates for land within the town of Minto, considers passing a resolution requesting the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and the Housing to allow the provincially proposed Clifford urban boundary expansion lands to be added back into the urban boundary, and that these lands are in addition to the residential lands identified as needed within the town of Minto. Questions? Everybody understands what this is? No? You do?
Yeah, it's crystal clear.
All right. I mean, it's kind of opened it up a little bit. There's other municipalities that have thrown their thoughts on this too, and it's kind of a mixed up thing where if that wasn't allowed, it likely would go through a little quicker, but it is what it is. A few other things are mixed up as well. So, all in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Announcements. Start with Councillor Elliott.
Just want to say, give your building department one thing to do. Thank goodness for all the work you guys in the 18 when it comes to that.
Councillor Potnitz. I'm not sure if that was caught on tape, Councillor Elliott, but
I just wanted to mention that Folks and Lions Club is hosting their Valentine's Lottery draw and dance this Saturday. Tickets were sold out, and I believe we are streaming this thing live on social media, so you can watch to see if we're getting any big prizes. If you bought tickets, the dance is on Saturday night. Make sure you bring your tickets to the dance if you're coming.
thank you, Councillor Gunson.
I have nothing.
Councillor Dirksen.
I have nothing, thank you.
Councilor Zimmerman.
I just want to say, Mayor Turton and myself, and Deputy Mayor Anderson's right-hand man, Dave, we participated in the bowl for Big Brothers and Sisters on Sunday. Really burnt the lane up. It was fantastic scores, but it was a good cause. I think our whole group for that hour raised close to $3,000 for the cause. So good for everyone that showed up.
Good work.
Thank you.
I have none.
I'd just like to add mine as well.
Just one thing I forgot.
If you promise to talk into the mic, I'll let you go.
I
again.
will.
Go ahead.
The Minto 81s will start their playoffs on Friday at 8:30, this coming Friday. And they finished in third spot, so they get the home game in the first round at least. And we'll see what goes from there. Got an excellent team, so I hope people get out to watch them. They've had really good crowds this year, and they're very entertaining. So let's hope they get out.
Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
I'd just like to add my, to what Councillor Zimmerman was saying. I mean, there's a lot of people that work hard at these, at the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, North Wellington Bowl for Millions. And it's, again, it was well organized, and it's a well-run event. There was a bunch of pink there. It was Barbie and Ken. So I'm thinking that Warren Grine is a big part of Minto. And what was his daughter's name? I apologize. Janelle. So all the people that put money towards it, thank you very much for your sponsors, and looking forward to next year. So, motion to return to regular council. Resolution moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Glenson. The committee of the whole convenes into regular council. All in favor? That's passed. Thank you. Notices of motion. Seeing none. The next resolution, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motion made in the committee of the whole. All in favor of that motion? Carried. Thank you. Bylaws, moved by Councillor Potnevitz, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that bylaws 2024-008 be read a first, second, and third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Confirmatory bylaw, moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. With bylaw 2024-009, confirm the actions of the council of the corporation of the town of Minto respecting a meeting held February 6, 2024. Be read a first, second, third time and passed in open council, sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that motion? Just like to apologize to, that's carried, thank you, to Stephanie. She's a big part of this building department as well, and I apologize for overlooking that adjournment. Moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. The Council of the Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor of that motion? Thank you very much. Have a great